Hi, and welcome to our channel, ExpatMD. My name is Dr. Carmen Brown, and I am a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist, and I'm currently living and working in Melbourne, Australia. I'm coming to you today to talk to you a little bit about the move overseas. All right, so this is for those of you who have already gone through the process. You've already done the job search, you got the job, you have your visas, you've had your contract, it's all done, you've done your negotiations, you're finished. And now you're at the very exciting part of moving yourself or possibly your family and pets overseas. So today I want to give you 5 quick tips about what I would recommend as far as moving overseas. Now, for a lot of us, we might not have ever have done a move this big up to a whole nother country. And for those of us that don't know the little nuances of going into an international move, I want to talk to you a little bit about it today. So I want to go through 5 quick tips as far as what you should do to prepare your household for making that move. Number 1, deciding what and how much you're going to bring with you. So this is a really critical part because, first of all, to move overseas, you're going to need a container. Now, a container, you know, those big things that you see in the back of 18-wheelers. So they come in 2 sizes, a 20-foot or a 40-foot. Now, if you're just a single person or just a couple with a very, small amount of stuff, you might just easily be able to get all your belongings into a 20-foot crate. Totally fine. But if you're a family of 4 or more, you're going to need a 40-foot crate. So go ahead and plan ahead. That's really critical as far as what size crate you're going to have. Number 2 thing is that you have to decide exactly what you're going to bring in that crate. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. Now, a lot of people want to just start all over fresh, and that's a great way of thinking. However, you have to remember that the cost of living in Australia and New Zealand is a lot higher than in the United States. So that means furniture will sometimes be 50 to 100% more. So that means that couch that's relatively new but just a little bit beat up that you were thinking about just getting rid of, you might not want to do that. So I would highly recommend that you go through your personal belongings and kind of decide about the things that you do want to bring over. I would highly recommend considering bringing a lot of your furniture. That way you don't have to replace it when you get over to this side of the world, because once again, it is a lot more expensive. So consider, beds, couches, end tables, office furniture, those types of things you might want to consider bringing with you. Now, of course, a lot of this has to do with the size house that you might be moving into in New Zealand or Australia. However, I would definitely say think about your different items of furniture and exactly what you're thinking about bringing with you in that crate. All right, the number 2 tip is of course, don't bring all that junk. So I know it sounds like I'm contradicting myself. However, what I mean by is, of course, how many times have we obviously gotten settled in life and you just have things that you just kind of haven't gotten rid of? Like, I don't know, the ceramic chicken that you got for your wedding that you're just not a fan of and it's kind of in the back of the cabinet. Those types of things, why bother with packing those up and taking up room? This is your opportunity to try to minimize all that stuff that you really don't utilize any longer. So this is your chance to kind of go through, do a really good sprinkling, go through all your stuff, anything that's broken, worn, things that you don't use anymore, donate, sell, yard sale, whatever it is. But the key is that you don't want to be paying for stuff that you're not going to utilize once you get on this side. The number 3 tip is, of course, make sure you're not bringing anything illegal. So for those of us who are moving to Australia or New Zealand, these are obviously islands and they have very, very important flora and fauna that you don't want to disrupt their natural environment. And unfortunately, some pests or things that you can bring from the United States can sometimes cause invasive species to just, go all over the country. You don't want to be that person that brings in like a boll weevil that takes out an entire crop. So a lot of times, a lot of things are going to be restricted. Things like seeds and plants, certain types of wooden furniture are not going to be allowed. Now, of course, I don't mean like the regular wood table that you all eat breakfast off of every day, but special wood pieces that you might have gotten on another trip overseas, untreated wood pieces, things that you might have used for farming or outdoors, those types of things are going to be on the restricted list. You can bring certain things over. However, my high recommendation is check with your agricultural or biosecurity sites for Australia or New Zealand and check to see exactly what types of restrictions are there. And if you are planning on bringing something, make sure that you describe it really well and it's packed separately so that they can go through it once you get on this side to inspect it and make sure it is indeed safe to bring over. So the fourth tip that I have for you as far as moving overseas is, of course, I would say price compare. Now, a lot of you might have negotiated with your hospitals to have maybe moving expenses, and that's great. However, you don't want to obviously just choose whatever mover there is out there. You still do want to price compare. So I would highly recommend getting at least 2 to 3 quotes with international movers to see exactly who's going to offer you the best price. So make sure you let them know that you are price comparing. They might actually do a little bit of work with you on there, but I would definitely recommend going through reputable international movers. And of course, you can see, of course, all the Better Business Bureau statistics. You want to make sure that they have insurance. And you also want to make sure that you do get insurance on your goods just in case that container falls off the ship. So the fifth and last tip is, of course, to make sure that you start well in advance. So once you've gotten your contract signed and everything, you really should start the process at that point. You start looking for your movers, you start going through your household, making sure that you're getting rid of items and things that you're no longer planning on using, but also more importantly, maybe even plan ahead. One of the things I mentioned before is that clothing and things are a lot more expensive on this side. And if you're moving with smaller children, maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and buy the next year's size clothing. I would especially recommend that with shoes and things like that because those can be very pricey in Australia and New Zealand. So if you do have any additional room in your crate, it might be worthwhile maybe having a box of the next year's size clothes, next year's size shoes to save a little money on this end. I hope you found these tips very helpful as far as your move overseas. I wish you the best of luck. It's a really exciting process. It can be very, very stressful, but it can be really, really good, especially if you plan ahead and organize. If you need more tips or if you'd like to organize maybe a discussion on the types of things that you might need to do individually for your move overseas, feel free to reach out to me at ExpatMD. We're happy to book in a free consultation and talk to you a little bit more. And we also do specialize in relocation and assisting you once you get on this side of the world. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you on this side of the world.